And the winner of the most space-saving packing method is... If you are new here, welcome. I'm Michelle, and I make content on life's cheat codes and easy buttons. Today, we are testing to definitively prove which is the most space-saving way to pack. We are going to settle, once and for all, the two big packing questions. Number 1, do packing cubes save space in your suitcase? And number 2, does folding your clothes or rolling your clothes use less space? We will pack the same set of clothes 5 different ways, each time measuring the volume, the amount of space taken up, by the clothes using each packing method. The formula I'm using to calculate the volume is length times width times height. Our experiment's 5 methods of packing are: 1, clothes folded neatly and kept loose. 2, clothes folded neatly and compressed in a compression cube. 3, clothes folded neatly and compressed in a space bag. 4, clothes rolled tightly and compressed in a compression cube. 5, clothes rolled tightly and compressed in a space bag. I have my measuring tape. We will start by measuring the volume of the items neatly folded and loose. This stack is 14.5 inches by 12 inches by 3 inches. That is 522 cubic inches. I know most of the world is on the metric system, but I'm from the United States and my tape measure is in inches. I'll put a conversion to cubic meters on the screen. Don't let the scale of the numbers throw you off. You'll still be able to tell which volume is smallest. The tiniest number is the winner, because we are looking for the packing method that takes up the least amount of space. I really wanted to do this experiment after watching several YouTube videos, each proclaiming a different packing method as the best to save space. These were mostly pack with me videos. Some people were in a hurry to leave the next day and not always folding or rolling as cleanly as possible. I get it. I, myself, have literally thrown clothes and a few toiletries in a bag and run out the door before. But wouldn't it be great to test the options, taking our time in a controlled way, packing as neatly and tightly as we possibly can? We are going to answer the question scientifically. My husband has the same shirt in the same size, in multiples, and in many colors. We'll test pack the same number of shirts using each of the 5 methods. One method is quote-unquote loose, while the other 4 options are all using some type of packing cube. There are many types of packing cubes. There is the standard type of packing cube with a single zipper, like this one made from thin nylon. Packing cubes are made from many different types of fabric, from ultra-lightweight nylon to heavier Cordura fabric. I decided not to test this basic packing cube, even though it is very thin and light. No matter how lightweight, a basic 1-zipper packing cube doesn't really affect the volume of the clothes packed inside. The cube will add a few grams of weight to your luggage. The fabric is also a few millimeters thick on all sides, so it takes up a bit of additional space. A standard packing cube is really just for organization and segregating your items. It's not space-saving. If you stuff a basic packing cube full, your clothes will get a little bit of compression from being jammed in tight, which could negate the few millimeters of thickness your packing cube adds. Travel Fashion Girl has a whole video that I will link below showing how to do that. She packs the cube full, then unzips the zipper only on one of the shorter sides. Then she slides in folded clothes, one by one, pressing them towards the back until she can't fit anymore. For this experiment, there is another type of packing cube that I think is better to test. It's the compression packing cube. Unlike the basic packing cube, a compression cube has 2 zippers. The second zipper is sewn around the sides of the cube. The top band of the zipper is sewn about 1 inch from the top of the cube, and the bottom band of the zipper is sewn about 1 inch from the bottom. So when you zip the zipper closed, it folds away the middle 50% of the packing cube's sides, shrinking the volume of the cube and compressing the items inside. The other zipper, the one at the top, is to open and close the packing cube. The compression cube saves space by pressing out some of the air that naturally sits in between the layers of your clothes. If you've ever had an overfull suitcase that you had to sit on to get it to close, you will be familiar with this concept. Some people unzip the 2 zippers and fill the cube while it's open and in its uncompressed state. Then they zip the top zipper and then engage the lower zipper to reduce the depth of the packing cube and compress everything down. I actually prefer to start with the packing cube already in its compressed state and just zip the top zipper to close. Now that you know the theory behind it, let's get packing in a compression cube. This is the Eagle Creek compression cube. It's made from a polyester 300 denier diamond weave with a mesh insert in the middle of the top flap for air circulation. This is one of the heavier packing cubes at 4 ounces or 113 grams. I actually purchased this 8.5 years ago and use it 3 or 4 times a year. Eagle Creek has another line, the Isolate compression cubes, which are made from a 35% lighter polyester ripstop fabric. The same size cube weighs in at 74 grams in that fabric. I can't include it as part of the test or recommend it because the zipper popped open and broke when I was in the middle of trying to pack with it for the first time. But maybe you will find a better quality version from another brand as the lighter option. Now back to the original packet cube. It has 2 layers of zippers. The lower zipper is responsible for compression. It collapses down an inch or 2 of the cube's depth, sandwiching your clothes between the top and bottom fabric of the cube. This pressing inward into a shorter stack is the mechanism of compression. Your clothes remain the same width and length, but the depth of the cube is compressed down by this second zipper, making the height of your stack of clothes less tall. Let's start with the folding method. I'm really going to fuss with smoothing the fabric because I want as few wrinkles as possible. The smoother, the better. Wrinkles make for more air pockets and lumps. I'm also trying to make the rectangle as close to the size of the packing cube as possible, taking maximum advantage of the length and the width. This minimizes the thickness of the stack. I'm also paying attention to the folds. Folds add bulk. If you've ever noticed in a store like the Gap, they alternate shirts in a stack. If the neckline of the first shirt in the stack is at the bottom, then they rotate the next shirt 180 degrees, so its neckline is at the top. If you didn't do that, the fold would always be on one edge, making the stack thicker and thicker on one side until it starts leaning like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I'm going to do more than 180-degree alternating. I'm going to do 90-degree alternating to maximize distribution of the bulk where the folds are. I'll minimize folds on any one side by putting the folds on the left, the right, the top, and the bottom. It should also help me avoid having a dip in the center due to less fabric. Again, I am trying to minimize wrinkles by smoothing the fabric as I go. The one downside of folding your clothes in a stack is that to get a piece of clothing in the middle, you have to disturb all the layers. But the big positive of folding is there are fewer wrinkles in your clothes when you get to your destination. Now I'm going to zip the compression cube up. I measure the volume of space that this packing method takes up using the formula length times width times height. This packing method measures in at 13 3/8 long by 9 inches wide by 3 inches deep. Multiply that length times width times the height gives you 361.125 cubic inches. Folding clothes in a compression cube now has the number 1 spot. It uses almost 161 cubic inches less than folding your clothes and leaving them loose in your suitcase. I'll take that same stack of shirts and transfer them into a space bag. I didn't have to fold the shirts again because the length and width of the space bag is almost identical to the compression cube. If they had been different dimensions, I would have folded the shirts again to take advantage of all the available room in the space bag. I'm trying to smooth out any wrinkles and avoid unnecessary air pockets. This bag has a seal at the top that you can press or squeeze closed. I start rolling from the top to squeeze out the air. There is a one-way valve that lets the air out and stops any new air from coming in, creating a vacuum-like effect. I then press on the outside of the bag and massage the fabric to smooth it flat and back into place. The package is now quite stiff because it is more dense with the air removed. It's like when you bake. More air in the batter makes a fluffier end product. Less air means a denser cake. The one big drawback of the space bag is that it takes the most time to pack because you have to make sure it is well sealed, then squeeze the air out and massage it back into shape. If you are frequently moving locations like a digital nomad traveler, I think you would eventually abandon these as too cumbersome. But I just have to pack them once at home and again at the end of the vacation. I don't find that to be too much of a hassle. The measurements for this packing method are 13 3/4 inches long by 10 3/4 inches wide by 1 inch deep. Multiply that length times width times height gives you 147.8125 cubic inches. The folding in a space bag method knocks folding in a compression cube out of the top spot with a reduction in volume of 60%. That's amazing.
Oh my God!
Let's move on to packing with the rolling method. I am going to do Ranger rolls to make tighter rolls. I fold up the bottom 2 inches or so of the shirt to create the pocket that I will tuck my burrito ends into to secure the roll. Fold the shirt into approximately thirds. It isn't exact because I'm setting the width of the roll to match the width of the packing cube. If the sleeve is too long, make an extra fold to fold in the excess. I roll as tightly as I can from the very beginning. The tighter that I roll, the more compression that I build in. I smooth and stretch out wrinkles as I go, since every wrinkle causes more air pockets. As I roll every shirt, you can see that I periodically check that the rectangle I start with isn't wider than the compression cube. I was limited in how high I could get my overhead camera set up above the table. The shirts are longer than the length of the table that would show on camera, so I settled for using a shorter table and sliding the shirts up and down to have a flat surface as needed to manipulate each shirt. But I usually do this on the bed, so I wouldn't have to do all this sliding up and down. But for the sake of the video and making sure you can see everything, I am adapting. I became obsessed with optimizing my packing when we started traveling as a family. Of course, kids want to bring their entire room and all their toys on a trip. I hated having my husband, and I weighed down with 1 or more big suitcases, weighing up to 50 pounds plus carry-on bags. So I started experimenting with reducing how much we were taking. When the kids were young, I would take 1 big family bag that we would check in and little backpacks for the plane with just a few snacks, toys, and a change of outfits in case the checked bag got lost. Packing cubes are great for this scenario. While our stuff was all in 1 big checked bag, the packing cubes kept everyone's items separated. As the kids grew up and I wanted to treat my back better, we switched to a carry-on for each person. No more worrying if the checked bag was going to make it to our destination. When everyone had their own carry-on, the packing cubes squashed down my few items so that I could take any overflow that my husband or kids couldn't fit in their suitcases. We'll place all the rolls into the Eagle Creek compression cube. This packing method takes up 13 5/8 inches long by 10 inches wide by 2.25 inches deep. Multiply that length times width times height gives you 306.5625 cubic inches. That is not enough to take the top spot. But rolled in a compression cube does take second place, knocking folded in a compression cube down to third. Let's transfer these Ranger rolls to the space bags. Let's see if compressing them by rolling and then compressing further a second time with the space bag wins the day. This packing method takes up 12 and 13 32nd inches long by 10 and 13 16 inches wide by 2 inches deep. Multiply that length times width times height gives you 268.2852 cubic inches. While that is good enough to take second place, it's not enough to win. The winner is folding your clothes, then compressing in a space bag. That packing method saves you as much as 71% of space over leaving your clothes loose in the suitcase. Let's take a closer look at the rankings. Ultimately, the best packing method is the one that fits your style and that you will use. Even if your preferred style isn't number 1 in space savings, it might be your top choice based on other needs. In 5th place, at 522 cubic inches, is folding your clothes and leaving them loose. Point blank, you don't have to use packing cubes. They cost money, and if it doesn't fit in your budget, skip them. You can still pack a very neat and orderly suitcase using Ranger rolls or the Marie Kondo folding method without them. In 4th place, at 361.125 cubic inches, is folding your clothes and placing them in a compression cube. It is a 30% improvement over leaving your clothes loose. This method gets your clothes to your destination with the least amount of wrinkles. If you like to transfer your clothes to drawers in your hotel room, you will like how easy it is to pick up and drop your items in. In 3rd place, at 306.5625, is rolling your clothes and placing them in a compression cube. This is a 41% improvement over leaving your clothes loose. This is my husband's preferred packing method. He goes with Ranger rolls in the Eagle Creek compression cubes. He likes it because he doesn't have to dig through a stack of clothes to find what he wants to wear. The individual rolls make it easier to carry his clothes into the bathroom to get changed after a shower, and he still saves a good amount of space. In 2nd place, at 268.825 cubic inches, is rolling your clothes and placing them in a space bag. This is a 48% improvement over leaving your clothes loose. The space bag is a nice upgrade if you are worried about moisture or bed bugs getting to your clothes, But rolling your clothes with a space bag seems to be unnecessary. And in fact, on the space bag's packaging, it says to fold clothes before placing them inside. In first place at 147.8125 is folding your clothes and then putting them in a space bag. This is a 71% space savings over leaving your clothes loose. This is the packing method I use. Saving space in my suitcase is king for me, so that I have the room to bring home the maximum number of souvenirs. I mentioned it is more of a hassle to use the space bags, both to pack and to pull your clothes out of every day. So I take out all of my clothes when I arrive and hang them in the hotel room closet. We packed garments in this experiment, but when you are packing other items that do not compress, my recommendation is to put them in bags or containers that match the size of the contents, so you don't have a lot of excess fabric or dead space in the organizers you are using to corral everything. I hope this helps you to choose the type of packing cube and packing method that best meets your needs. Until the next time, take care of you.